All right. Well, hi, everybody. We're seeing a lot of people joining us, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to join our webinar today. We're so excited to have you with us. We have really great insights to share with you about a very important topic, which is customer loyalty, and hopefully you'll find this webinar useful. And then before we get into our webinar, just a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, on the right side of your screen, there's a Q&A chat panel. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have throughout the webinar, and we'll definitely get to your questions at the end. You can also participate in our conversation today by answering our poll questions as they come up. We really would love to hear your opinions, so definitely participate. And then finally, we will be sending you a copy of this recording to everybody that registered and attended tomorrow, so definitely watch out for that email. So with that in mind, let's get started. So first of all, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Tatiana, and I'm the head of marketing here at Lob. We are really excited to spend this time with you to talk about the fundamental modern marketing technique, which is creating a customer-focused loyalty strategy based on data. We will go over the current state of brand loyalty, and we'll definitely touch upon how it's been changing due to COVID-19. There's definitely been a lot of changes in this landscape. We will also talk about concrete steps that you can take to improve your brand loyalty by leveraging your first-party data. And today, I will be joined by Marina Ben-Zvi. She's the Director of Product Marketing at Blueshift. So Marina, definitely welcome to the webinar. Excited to have you here with us. And before we jump into the main topic for the webinar, I would love to spend just a couple of minutes to talk about our companies. So I will start off by introducing Lob. Probably the best way to think about Lob and what we do here is we brought direct mail into the digital age. What we've done, we've built a modern direct mail platform that helps brands automate direct mail communication in the same way that you currently do email, SMS, or any other digital channels. Meaning through our platform, you can be incredibly agile, flexible, measurable, and very deeply personalized with your direct mail campaigns. For quite a lot of you here on the webinar, you have definitely received mail generated from Lob, because 1 in every 2nd household have now received mail from Lob. And then really, finally, our customers are leveraging Lob not only for their marketing campaigns, but we also have quite a lot of companies that use us to send operational mail, think of your billing, invoicing statements, and things like that. So with this in mind, I'm going to pass this off to Marina.
Hi, everyone. So a little bit about Blueshift. Blueshift helps consumer brands better engage their customers and grow revenue by delivering relevant, connected experiences across every channel by activating their data. Our Smart Hub TDP gives brands all the tools they need to seamlessly deliver one-to-one experiences. We have an end-to-end platform that includes customer profiles, audience segmentation, predictive intelligence, personalized recommendations, omnichannel orchestration, and all done at unmatched scale. And with our sense of partnerships and integrations, marketers have an intuitive platform that lets them unify customer data from any source, unlock intelligence with customizable AI, and create relevant one-on-one messages that trigger at the right time across any channel, online or offline.
Right. Well, thank you, Marina. And so let's get started. I actually would love to start with the poll to really get to know our audience a little bit more. So I'm going to start this poll right now. Would love for you to participate. So we would love to hear, is your customer loyalty a top 3 initiatives for your marketing team in 2021? All right. And I'm going to give it a couple of minutes for you to take the poll. Okay. Right, we're seeing some results come through. It's very interesting. Okay, I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes. Okay, perfect. Well, interesting. I'm looking at the results, and it looks like for majority of everybody here, actually 87% customer loyalty is a top 3 initiative. And let's, one more question for you. And that question is, would you switch brands for a coupon or imagine like a promotional discount? I'm going to start that poll for you as well. Okay, I'm going to give you again a couple of minutes just to answer that. Okay, it looks like we have data coming in. Okay, great. The reason why we're asking you these questions, we actually wanted to kind of hear your opinion before we actually get into some of the industry data specifically for this question. So it looks like from the team that joined us today on the webinar, majority of everybody thinks that customer loyalty is a top 3 initiative for your marketing team. Actually, in case 88% said that it was. And then would you switch brands for a coupon? We actually have 53% that said yes, and 47% said no. So kind of keep this in mind as we get into the data that we're actually seeing in the industry. Okay.
Yeah. So to start off, I want to quickly touch on the state of brand loyalty today. For us here, for the audience, customer loyalty is a key initiative, so that's really great to see. And I think we all know existing customers are a valuable asset. Brands who have strong loyalty, like Apple or Trader Joe's, name a few, get to enjoy predictable, strong growth because customers who are engaged, satisfied, loyal to your brand, they provide a stable, robust revenue stream. Not only do they tend to spend more per purchase, but also repeat purchases more often. They also allow your business to maintain better margins because loyal customers are less price sensitive. And they provide another channel of growth because engaged customers are your biggest advocates and give ongoing referrals to their friends. So that's why it's no surprise that just a 5% increase in customer retention has outsized impact, increasing a business's profits by 25 to 95%. And that's profits, not just revenue. We've definitely seen in the last year that as many marketers saw their budgets cut, the focus has really turned on doing more with less, getting more out of your existing customers. But at the same time, while brand loyalty, is critical to hitting your goals and driving growth, it's becoming tougher and tougher to achieve and hold. As folks here said, many of you would switch brands for a coupon, and studies definitely show that about half of consumers out there will do that. That makes it just that much tougher to achieve and hold customer loyalty today. Studies also show that millennials, the group with the highest purchasing power today, only 6.5% of them are brand loyalists. And McKinsey found that in the last year, 73% of consumers tried a new brand as a result of the pandemic, and they plan to continue with that brand. And all these stats make sense. Consumers today have more choice than ever, are more informed, are more empowered shoppers who have easier access to product information and to alternatives. And brands that were ahead of the curve with their digital experiences have been able to capitalize on the changes in consumer behavior and sentiment and shopping patterns in the last year. But that's also left brands who were on the other side competing to win and retain customers.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I'm actually kind of interested, right? So in the poll, we're seeing that actually 58% of you said that yes, you will in fact switch brands for a coupon. So we're definitely noticing that, and a couple of things that we are personally seeing from our customer, and specifically the impact of COVID. We're noticing that, just because of COVID, consumers maybe in the past had developed certain loyalty to their brands. Specifically, maybe they're used to pick a certain brand when they went in store, but they had to adjust their purchasing behavior because you simply cannot buy in the same way anymore, right? You can't go to a retail store, and sometimes your preferred item is out of stock, right? So you're more open to trying out new brands, and this is where we had quite a lot of our customers that really experimented with sending off coupons for some offers, and they saw incredible uptick in the amount of redemptions that they have seen. And this is really, I think, to me, is not only it's a trend that we've seen historically, but also COVID has really, really accelerated, right, the path of specifically, some of the trends that we're seeing within consumer loyalty. So all of this data, I think, makes perfect sense.
So what can you do? How do you turn new customers into loyalists and have loyal customers continue to stick around, especially in today's competitive, noisy market landscape that's continually getting disrupted? Well, loyalty, beyond driving additional purchases, is about deepening relationships with customers. While the traditional loyalty drivers have been around delivering your brand promise with consistently high quality products, competitive pricing, as well as reliability and availability of your products or services, today customer loyalty is being driven more and more by providing a positive total customer experience, which includes how simple, convenient, intuitive you make it for your customers to continue to engage and transact with you. Customers want to reduce their effort. They want you to make it easy for them. People also want experiences that are relevant to them and personalized to where they are in the buying process and to what they seek in that moment. Service has also become much more important, especially as more transactions are happening online. And lastly, people want to feel emotionally connected to a brand's values and ideals. So they'll look for brands that align with their identity. Definitely the rise in sustainable clothing brands or mission-driven companies like Tom's that give a portion of their profits to grassroots efforts showcase the value in that. So what we're seeing is that driving loyalty has become much more about catering to your customers' needs, primarily through superior experiences. It's not a one-time effort. It's not limited to interactions that take place around the transaction. Loyalty really happens as a result of consistently offering those high-quality, positive experiences, which can only happen when you have a strong customer understanding, and that comes from effectively tapping into your data.
Absolutely. And as we go into the next part, definitely keep these drivers of brand loyalty. So then to me, the most common next question is, okay, well, so what can we do and how can we improve our brand loyalty? And this is where we're going to walk you through a couple of things that we think are fundamental to improving your brand loyalty. Of course, the first one, it starts with just creating an intentional strategy. And strategy, right, is make sure as you're thinking and developing that strategy, your strategy is not just focused on channels. And we see that very, very often, right? Marketing teams have like very robust strategy for their email nurturing. But the fact is that, your customers don't care about that, right? So make sure that as you form your strategy, it is centered around your customer and not necessarily the channels that you have. Second is make sure you actually leverage your tools and the technology that you have, right? So now, a lot of marketing teams have very, very good technology, but unfortunately, a lot of times it's not actually used in the right way. So make sure as you're thinking about and developing your strategy, you actually have the right tools to be able to implement that. And then finally, identify themes and programs and your best practices that would actually engage your customer. And this is where our current customers, we definitely spend a lot of time talking to them about their brand loyalty, and we're consistently going to see this key 3 themes that you need to think about when putting together your brand loyalty strategy. So the first one there is really around reducing friction, right? So think about how you can reduce friction at each single step of your customer journey by creating workflows that are based on action milestones and relevant events. The second one is really around personalization. I feel like it's now has been such a buzzword, personalization, but it is because it's just absolutely true. We've noticed across our entire customer base is that each addition into personalization led to higher conversion rates, right, and a higher brand loyalty. So the thing is, you already have the right data about your customers, right? You have it in your tools, so make sure that you're actually integrating that into your strategy, and your strategy is fundamental, and really based on this concept of personalization. And really, finally, real-time optimization, right? So make sure that you have a way of tracking and measuring actions in real time so you can optimize performance and maximize conversions. It is no longer okay for marketing teams to, put together their annual strategy and then do kind of look back year over year or even quarter over quarter. I think we all have seen that, especially with COVID, that all of a sudden we all had to fundamentally change our strategies almost in real time, right? We had to pause campaigns, we had to restart campaigns. So make sure you have the right architecture and the right tooling for you to be able to do that in real time. The next part of our strategy is around customer data. And Marina, I'm going to pass this off to you.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, driving brand loyalty, forming that intentional strategy that aims to reduce friction, add personalization, and incorporate real-time optimization, that really all goes back to deeply understanding your customers, what they want, their interests, what they're likely to do next, and then using that insight to deliver what they need. So how do you become that mind reader? It's how to best engage each customer throughout the customer journey. It's about being customer data obsessed and picking up on the cues of what customers are revealing about themselves through their data and their behaviors. So developing that deep customer understanding and translating it into better, frictionless, personalized customer experiences really starts with a strong foundational first-party data strategy, and specifically how well you can harness and act on that first-party data. So the first step here is collecting all of the data from across your organization and tying it together into a single complete view of your customers. The good news is most likely your company is sitting on more first-party data than you know what to do with. Customers today are generating a growing number of data points through their online interactions with your brand, as well as their offline behaviors, which are also increasingly trackable. But this is also where you find the biggest roadblock to loyalty strategies. Valuable customer data is usually siloed across your organization and inaccessible to marketers and loyalty leaders. But today, unlike 5 years ago, there are solutions for this. Brands are finding that they can successfully centralize their data with solutions like a CDP, a customer data platform, that can unify all of their data and create complete 360-degree customer profiles. When these profiles encompass the complete history of your customers with your brand. That means all the historic, real-time, and predicted data and behaviors, as well as demographic data and other CRM data points, marketing engagement and purchase history, offline behaviors, product interactions, even anonymous online interactions, and any other really relevant data point from across your channels and systems can be stored and accessed and centralized here in a really privacy safe way. So this is really step one of becoming customer data obsessed, is getting that unified view of your customers. But now a lot of marketers who get to the stage where they successfully kind of got their data in one place and have these customer profiles, what they find is acting on the data reveals its own set of challenges, either because they don't know what to do with that data or they don't have the right tools to put it into action. So the next step when you're armed with that centralized source of truth about your customers is to start developing a deep customer understanding and extracting actionable insights. You want to understand who are your most valuable customers and what's different about them, whether their shopping behaviors, what channels are most profitable, what channels are these most profitable customers using to discover, research, and purchase, what are their product affinities and communication preferences, what behaviors actually drive these high value customers, so you can start thinking about how to encourage more of it. And, not everyone's going to be a high value customer. So definitely identify those that you want to retain or those that you want to, grow loyalty and value with, and then work to understand and give them the experience that they want. Then armed with this data, you can actually develop personalized messages and recommendations, offer relevant promotions, and upsell and cross-sell each customer with relevant products and services. And with the right marketing platform, these insights and this intelligence can be identified for you and actually automatically incorporated across your messages, your lifecycle campaigns, your customer interactions. And then lastly, what being customer obsessed isn't just, kind of a marketing initiative. You want this data and intelligence to be available in real time throughout the organization. And the right marketing platform will allow you to do that. So for example, if you have a contact center or in-source associates, you want to arm them with this kind of centralized view of your customers as well, so that they can quickly pull up customer profiles, access transaction history, preferences, affinities, see personalized product recommendations, so that they can quickly resolve issues or point customers to the right product or the right solution.
Thank you, Marina. This is definitely very helpful. And before we get into our last part around how you can improve your brand loyalty, we actually would like to do our last poll. So we'd love to ask you, what channels are you using as part of your omnichannel loyalty campaigns? And I'm going to start the poll right now. Okay, it is open. We're really curious, before we kind of get into that last topic, to actually see what are all the different channels that you are currently using. And you can select multiple channels. All right, it looks like we have most people have voted. So here's what we're seeing here. Okay, so there's a little bit more data coming through. But so far, it looks like, and to be honest, like it's probably not surprising, right? So that quite a lot of you are currently using email, right? So we're at 40%. We see a little bit less social/influencer usage at around 25%. SMS is definitely, that was kind of surprising to me. At least like this group is using, only 11% of you are currently using SMS. We're seeing a little bit uptick in direct mail, but also definitely looks like it's an underutilized channel. And then there's also other, and then I'm sure about 9% of you guys are using other channels. So this is not surprising, right? So when we think about omnichannel, we often see there's one or two channels that are very popular, but there's it's very rare for companies to be able to like really efficiently deploy omni-channel strategy utilizing all the different channels that are available, right? So and this is what we're seeing. SMS and direct mail tends to be a very underutilized. So let's get into our next strategy, which is in order for you to improve your brand loyalty, you'll really need to focus on delivering continuous omni-channel experience. And this is why we were actually asked about that poll, just to see, like how omni-channel are you and your company are. So first of all, we've all heard omni-channel for so long, it's such a buzzword that I think also it's been around for the last 10, 15 years. But the truth is now we are operating where we have the right tools, we have the right data to be able to actually facilitate truly omnichannel engagement. And our customers are increasingly expecting that, right? So our customers are expecting for us to be able to speak to them at the right time, on the right platform with the right message, right? And this is really the key to creating your omnichannel engagement. So first of all, let's start off with the tooling, right? It is very, very important for you to orchestrate your campaigns in one place. And, honestly, there's nothing worse for all of the marketers here than having 10 different tools when you need to orchestrate a campaign. I have one of those really, really horror stories, from my early days as marketer, where we've had one tool that we use to communicate with our self-service customers, and we had a different tool to communicate with our mid-market and enterprise customers. However, full sets of data lived in both tools. And, I had one of those nightmares where I sent an email that I thought was sending out to self-service, but accidentally sent an email to all of our mid-market enterprise customers. This is probably one of those biggest nightmares you can have as a marketer, where you send a completely irrelevant message to your entire customer base, right? And really the reason why that happened is because we didn't have one central tool that allows not only to send email, but also all the other, utilize all the other channels, right? So that's definitely key to your omnichannel orchestration. The second one is data, right? Actually use the data. I think a lot of us have access to a lot of information about our customers, but unfortunately, it is not actually kind of goes down to our strategies, right? So really make sure that the data that you have, you're actually utilizing it. And then lastly, let's get a little bit into channels, right? So we saw that for a lot of teams, they rely very heavily on email, they rely heavily on social and maybe a little bit of SMS. And we see definitely a lot less with direct mail. But the key there is now, you need to, as a marketer, you need to figure out which channel is going to work for you, or the mix of channels that are going to work for your customers. And I actually would love to get in maybe a little bit deeper into specifically direct mail, since this is one of the channels that we definitely see underutilized. And the reason why it's so underutilized is that historically it's been so difficult to leverage it in your technology stack, right? It was very outdated, existed completely outside of your CRM. But now with platforms like Lob, you can actually fully integrate direct mail into your omni-channel strategy. The direct mail now really operates like any other digital channel, right? So if you're already using email, if you're already using social, you need to absolutely try SMS and direct mail. If you're not, trust me, your competitors are trying those channels and they're seeing success. So also direct mail can now be extremely personalized, right? So just the same way that you send an email, you can say, hi, first name, and personalize everything. Modern direct mail platforms also now use HTML. So in the exact same way, you can personalize everything in that direct mail piece. And then finally, modern direct mail is just incredibly fast, right? So specifically with our technology, we see direct mail gets to the end consumer within 2 days, right? And the longest 4 days. So imagine, kind of scenario where you can have this omni-channel campaign where maybe at first you try somebody with an email. If they don't respond, wait like 4 days and send them SMS. If they don't respond, wait X amount of days and send them direct mail, right? And this is what we mean by having a truly omnichannel strategy. And what we're finding is that you will be surprised what type of demographic is going to respond best to what type of channel. I'll actually give you one of the examples that always just really surprised me personally. So Third Love, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Third Love. What they've noticed is that they had this problem where they had a fairly robust omnichannel strategy, but they were noticing that they had a lot of this block of customers that were just unsubscribing from their digital communication, right? So they unsubscribed from their email and they unsubscribed from their SMS, right? So then the team said okay, well, that's it, right? We've already acquired, but we lost these customers and there's nothing that we can do. So they at first, they kind of decided to give up on that cohort. And then they start leveraging direct mail with Lob. And what they found, essentially what they've done, they orchestrated this campaign where if somebody unsubscribed from their email and if somebody unsubscribed from their SMS, they would trigger a personalized direct mail piece with a similar items that they used to purchase, right? And they would trigger that off. And what they found was so surprising, about they saw close to 50% redemption on the direct mail pieces, right? So what they realized is that they still had brand loyalty. That specific cohort was just a little too tired of their email and SMS communications, right? And that's, to me, the point of that story is that you really don't necessarily, until you try all the different channels, and you can actually really test and optimize it, you might not know which channels your individual, your cohorts and your customers are preferring, right? So make sure as you put together your omnichannel strategy, it is truly omnichannel, right? So you're using the right tool where you can test your SMS, your social, your direct mail, and every other channel, and you can rapidly test and optimize, right? That's kind of our one of the key takeaways that we'd like for you to have. And so on that note, we're going to move to the next slide.
And I actually just wanted to add on the omnichannel note that people today are becoming more channel agnostic, and as you said, no channel is on its own is going to be a silver bullet. Loyalty today is built through continuous omnichannel engagement, through effectively orchestrating your channels to create those timely, connected, contextually relevant experiences that your customers expect. I've heard a stat that customers interact on average on 9 channels to browse products, seek advice, make purchases. So as people are becoming more channel agnostic, they're not necessarily thinking in terms of channels the way that we do when we have our marketer hat on. Your customers basically just want to find a product or the information that they need, really regardless of channel. And it's on us marketers to understand the interplay between our channels and how to use channels to create that right set of touch points for our customers, with the focus being how do you actually synchronize all these brand touch points to create those frictionless, intuitive, timely, simple, enjoyable experiences that our customers seek and expect. Really make it simple and fast for them, meet customers where they are, and engage them with those relevant messages, offers, products, information, whatever it is that they seek in that moment based on what the customer data is telling you. And it's really important to think about, continuous engagement. Loyalty is about nurturing relationships. It's not simply about incentivizing the next purchase. So think about how do you continue to provide customers with useful information? How do you engage them in between transactions? How do you become a go-to destination for them? Like any relationship, it's give and get. You need to provide value. You need to continue to stay top of mind. And really by making every interaction enjoyable, personalized, that's what helps get you there. You basically want your customers to be excited anytime that they receive, a message or have a touch point with you. So how do you actually do this effectively as customers are jumping between channels and are at different points in their customer journey? So orchestrating these continuous customer engagements across your channels requires a single platform, a single control center from which you can actually create, automate, and scale these connected omnichannel experiences that drive loyalty. Smart Hub CDPs are becoming a MarTech essential. They partner with and deeply integrate with all the key channel delivery systems and have a journey builder built in that allows you to orchestrate and iterate on your customer experiences and your journeys. And because Smart Hub CDPs run on customer data, when an important customer behavior or an event or a milestone occurs, it can then immediately trigger that next best action, offer, message on the appropriate channel, or set off a series of communications to be delivered kind of at that right place and right time, making this kind of whole process and experience more seamless for both the marketer as well as the end customer. And what we see here is kind of what this looks like kind of in practice. So it starts, to actually create these engagement, loyalty driving workflows. It starts with combining your first-party data and creating individual customer profiles that are enhanced with insights like product affinities and communication preferences. Then from this data, you can pull out intelligence about customers' likelihood to purchase, engage in an offer, upgrade, turn, so you can start proactively engaging customers based on these insights. Then from your customer data, you can also determine what product, content, or offers are relevant to each customer, so you can include those in your messages. You can also determine the best time to send your messages to maximize engagement, as well as the best channel to capture customers' attention, which will be a mix of online, offline, digital, print, store, potentially. And then pulling all these insights together in a central marketing platform, you can create and automate these superior, seamless, personalized, loyalty-driving customer experiences that are run by and triggered by your customer data.
Great, and thank you so much for sharing that. There's definitely, I'm definitely a very visual person, so it's really nice to see it that way. And with this, we are going to move on to questions. We do know that we are a little bit past half an hour, so if you could say, please do so. We'll try to get through a couple of questions, and then we will definitely make sure to answer all of your questions when we reach out to follow up. So I see we have quite a lot of questions that came through. So let's see how many we can go through. The first one is actually, I think, addressed for me. So we've talked a lot about, data and the importance of data and tracking performance. So how do you exactly do that with direct mail, right? Direct mail historically has been very difficult to see ROI from. Really, really good question. And honestly, this is the question that we hear quite a lot, right? How do you determine ROI from direct mail? And how do you track performance from direct mail? So the key there's a couple of key points to that, right? So make sure that the platform that you're leveraging for direct mail, or specifically, if you have one platform such as Blueshift, that you are able to truly track ROI and analytics from it. So the way that you can do that with direct mail, there's a couple of different ways. One, you can do unique, since we use HTML as templates, you can actually add a unique either QR code or coupon code on each individual mail piece, and that's very easy to implement. Actually, we specifically post-COVID, we're seeing QR codes actually really, really pick up. I think in the past, QR codes were not as, they were just not as effective, but now with COVID, I think all of us are very much trained on QR codes. So we're seeing a lot of our customers seeing success with QR codes. And then finally, of course, if somebody has redeemed that QR code, then you can see in your automation or your CDP platform, you will be able to see that and track that on either individual campaign. And we definitely also recommend doing cohort testing, right? So if, because sometimes when you send somebody a direct mail piece, they might not redeem it at the, right away, but it actually might, maybe like a week later, they'll actually go and redeem that. So we suggest for you to, one, have a control cohort, and then have a cohort that received direct mail piece when you start testing, and then also make sure that you're just looking at the overall lift in your campaign from that group, right? Considering that sometimes direct mail can have a little bit of a longer redemption time. So, modern direct mail is definitely not a black box. You can very much track ROI, not only on the individual mail piece, but also definitely from your entire campaign. So the next question, actually, Marina, I think is for you. How do you select which channels to include and identify which channels your customers prefer without a data science team?
That's a good question. So it all goes back to a deep customer understanding. What are your customer shopping patterns? Which channels have high and low engagement? The role of each channel in the shopping or user experience of your brand, and from there you can really start orchestrating channel touch points that make sense in your customer experience, keeping in mind that you want to be flexible, because different customers have different communication preferences. But then to identify the channel that each customer prefers without having a data science team, it comes back to having the right platform, like a Smart Hub CDP that uses AI to analyze all available customer data and behaviors from across your channels and extract channel affinities for each customer, assigning them a score based on their likelihood to engage on each channel. And then based on these scores, marketers can actually just incorporate these scores in their campaigns and journeys and have the message trigger on the most appropriate channel for each customer.
Great. And actually, Marina, I think we have another question for you, which is, we aren't doing omnichannel today. What's the best way to get started?
Yeah, that's a great question. Omnichannel, I think when you first think about it, sometimes can seem a little bit overwhelming. So Blueshift, we always suggest a crawl, walk, run approach. Start with your 2, maybe 3 kind of primary customer engagement channels and map out what that ideal interplay between these channels would look like to create those more kind of frictionless, intuitive experiences. Then test your strategies, iterate, and once you have a good engagement approach in place, then you can start adding in additional channels into the experience one by one. But again, more importantly, you need to have the right technology to enable omnichannel campaigns. You can't have that true omnichannel engagement that's centered around your customers and their needs when you have one system for email campaigns, another for mobile, and so on. And when each of these channels execute off of their own siloed data, you need that unified platform that unifies both data and that unifies the experiences and is able to orchestrate and trigger the right actions at the right time across your marketing execution systems and channels.
And this is actually a very good question for me is, does Lob only support postcards? We would like to test a campaign where we send branded letters. That's of course, Lob supports not only postcards. You can actually send postcards, letters, and checks through Lob. And we also have different sizes of postcards and different type of letters, like color, black and white. So Lob actually gives you quite a lot of flexibility there. And I'm glad you actually asked about wanting to send personalized letter. So one other thing that you can do with Lob letters is you can actually brand the envelope, right? So for example, if you have like a very colorful brand, if you want to stand out from the crowd, you can actually do that with not only just the letter, but also the envelopes. Also for all the marketers on the call, one thing that we often see is that marketers tend to like always think about, oh, let's try postcards. What we're actually finding is that letters work really, really well for marketing use cases. And I think that was one of the lessons that we've learned by working with our customers that really tried to and really tested their different campaigns. They found that in certain instances, letter actually works better, especially if it's like a membership enrollment or if you are rolling out a new type of membership program. This is where letters actually tend to work really, really well. So definitely don't think that, just because maybe like your marketer, the postcard is it. Definitely try to experiment with all different types of formats that we're able to support. And on that note, I know that we are already running just a little bit over. So we'd like to thank you everybody so much for joining our webinar. We definitely saw the rest of your questions and we will absolutely get to them. We'll make sure that in our follow-up, we will answer your question. Also keep in mind is that you will get a copy of this recording and also some useful ebooks. And the next day, we'll make sure to definitely follow up with everybody. In the meantime, please definitely reach out to any of our teams. You can see our email addresses here. It's just hello@lob.com or hello@blueshift.com, and we will be absolutely happy to answer any other questions. And definitely, Marina, thank you so much for joining our webinar today, and thank you